On September 1st, 2015, I took off towards Florence, Italy. This would be the trip of a lifetime. I chose to study abroad in Italy not only because of the beautiful rolling hills and landscape, but because I knew this would be the place I could broaden my knowledge in the wine industry. I spent the first couple of days exploring Florence with a couple of new friends. I discovered things I've never even imagined I would get to see. Studying abroad impacted me in a lot of ways, but most of all, allowed me to set new goals for my future. After that semester, I knew that I would forever be changed academically, personally, and professionally. The first couple of days at Florence were a blast, but I was also trying to culturally adjust. I didn't have a hard time doing this, but instead embraced the challenge. My first big culture impact would be a soccer game in Florence. Italian families were scattered throughout the stadium yelling and shouting for their team. Then some friends and I decided to travel by train to Pisa to visit the Leaning Tower and to gain some more independence. This is also when I got to see my first cathedral church in Italy. This had some cultural impact on me and soon learned that the dress code and being quiet was a very strict and real policy. After Pisa came my first wine tour. This was an incredible experience because I was excited to learn and discover new things and what the wine industry was like in Tuscany, Italy. After that, a lot of us traveled on a bus to an area called Cinque Terre. This was one of the most exciting trips because we couldn't wait to go to the coast and see the water. Another one of my favorite trips was to a little town north of Italy called Como. The town was clean, beautiful, and full of locals. Here we got to put our Italian language skills to the test. And during the next week, we got to travel to another beautiful winery. The Italians were filled with excitement to teach us more about wine. One of the coolest things I did while I was abroad was go to a chocolate factory. I was also looking forward to the trips that were to come, and Berlin, Germany was up next. This city was one of my top most moving experiences abroad. After settling into Germany, I started to realize the huge cultural differences between Italy and Germany. And Germany was filled with war history and the atmosphere had a dark and rigid impression. Outside of Berlin, I got to visit the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, which brought many feelings of anger towards the Germans. It was interesting to learn what had happened in some of the exact spots I was standing, but there was also a lot of emotions that day. Next came Ireland. Ireland stood out for their food, beer, and music. This town was definitely filled with joy. Paris, France was different because it offers a lot of history also, but their culture was not my favorite. But I was excited to see some of their amazing landmarks like the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, and meet up with some college friends. After I returned back home to Florence, I spent most of my days hanging out with friends before our last goodbye. The next week, my family would be arriving, and I couldn't wait to show them what I had learned and seen. The next few days were filled with bittersweet memories.